Good afternoon, all. I want you guys to pay attention to what he's saying because he's right. I'm seeing people on YouTube predicting where this hurricane's going to go. And he's right. It's too far out right now for anybody to predict. So I'm going to go ahead and play it. You guys listen. Tell me what you think. Please leave a comment in the boxes below.
Now we have Major Hurricane Florence. Unbelievable amounts of rapid intensification over the last 24 hours. This time yesterday when we talked, it was just a Category 1 hurricane. Now it's a high-end Category 3. Here's what we know about Florence. Florence has rapidly intensified and will likely continue to do so for at least a short while longer. It is a small, very complex hurricane. The forecast model has been inconsistent, okay? There's been run after run. Sometimes there's consistency, sometimes there's not. That being said, it is a low confidence forecast. Anybody you're seeing on Twitter, anybody you're seeing on social media or on YouTube itself that's saying they know what Florence is going to do, not being honest with you. This far out in time, we have about 9 days worth of computer data to go through, atmospheric conditions to kind of evolve before it gets anywhere close to the East Coast, if in fact that's the track it takes. A lot of variables in play here, and we're going to talk about a few of those in just a second. Florence isn't the only game in town. We got number 2 and number 3 here, both tropical waves, Helene and eventually Isaac as well. Joyce not quite emerging yet on the satellite imagery. That's farther inland to the east over the continent of Africa right now. But let's start off with Florence. Very small, complex system, but a very well-defined, clear, tiny eye. This thing has very gusty winds, 125 mile per hour sustained, 155 mile per hour gusts. Check out the diameter of it, just over 250 miles. In the scheme of the entire size of the Atlantic Ocean, that is very, very tiny. I talked about 125 mile per hour wind sustained, high-end Category 3 right now in terms of the Saffir-Simpson scale and how we rank hurricane categories from 1 to 5, just on the cusp of becoming a Category 4 possibly soon. But it is encountering some issues that may limit its strengthening for now, not to say in the future it won't get just as strong, if not stronger. Here's how it looks as we switch up the imagery and show you infrared. This shows you the temperatures of the cloud tops. When you get the darker reds, the oranges there, those are higher clouds, colder cloud tops, indicating a very healthy inner core of this system with intense thunderstorm activity wrapped around the entire thing. It's very symmetrical. That's what you would find in a major hurricane. But look at all this dry air. It's been very interesting that this has rapidly intensified in conditions that are not conducive for it. We have plenty of dry air indicated here on water vapor imagery. We have sea surface temperatures that are, marginal, around 80 or so, 80 degrees Fahrenheit. And also the moisture profile with the dry air isn't there, and some wind shear is also affecting it. But it's been able to kind of close itself off from all of that and not be impacted. Here's a look at sea surface temperatures. Category 3 storm, there's the placement currently. We got water temperatures right around 80, which is marginal. We need 80 or better for the latent heat to be released and to fuel the storm. But look at where it's heading. It is forecast to head west-northwest into much warmer
Sorry,
ocean
guys, it's
temperatures.
another earthquake.
And the ocean temperatures, or the heat at this point in time of the ocean, extends down to a lower depth. So there's going to be a lot more ocean heat content with this as it moves forward. In terms of the wind shear, it's just heading into some unfavorable wind shear, not terribly high. It's not going to shear it apart by any means, but it will probably limit its strengthening a little bit more in the next 24 to 36 hours or so before it heads into an area, a much larger area, of favorable wind shear conditions, which is what it would need to kind of sustain itself, if not strengthen. Now, everything being said, the overall atmospheric setup is going to be very difficult to evolve or to kind of look out into the future and nail down. That's why it's so hard, this long-term track forecasting with this particular system and this setup. All right, we have a ridge of high pressure off to the now northeast of that center of that system. That's been keeping it to the south and pushing it westwards. There's another developing ridge. Overnight models, which is why you may have heard that it's looking like it's more towards the East Coast at this point in time, is because overnight models are saying that this ridge is stronger and also farther to the east, meaning that window of escape of the storm turning to the north would be smaller, and it would have to catch it at just the right time. If it does not do that and move to the north, it will continue on a west-northwest and eventually due west track, possibly towards Bermuda, and then possibly towards the eastern seaboard before it recurves off to the north. a lot has to be kind of ironed out here. Again, this is between now and say Friday, Saturday of next week, if the East Coast does come and play. 9 days, a lot can change. All right, here's how it looks in terms of the latest forecast track from the National Hurricane Center. Out at 11 o'clock this morning. Keeps it at a pretty good clip here. Category 3 storm, and I talked about a little bit of some weakening happening down to a Category 2. But again, intensity forecasts are extremely difficult. We saw what happened between yesterday and now. Was not expected to become a Category 3 storm. It was unforeseen, so a lot can happen here. I think Florence has some more surprises in store for us before things wrap up here and we see a clear picture of what may happen. This goes out to 5 days because you notice the cone of uncertainty gets larger as you go out in time. And I put the models on here and you see after that cone, things kind of spread out and diverge a little bit more. And a lot of models want to take this awfully close to the eastern seaboard. Let's look at the GFS ensembles. Again, this is the GFS model, run several different times with different initializations and different variables, kind of tweaking little things in the model to see what the eventual outcome would be. And a lot of the ensembles are saying, hey, this looks to track a lot closer to the East Coast than what it was looking like as early as yesterday. Will it continue? We'll see. There's a lot of time for that to change and the overall conditions to kind of evolve. All right, here's how it looks as we compare the GFS and the European. We've done this the last few days to see if there's any differences. The red is going to be the European model. The yellow is the GFS or the American. These are going to be the average of all the ensembles. So all those lines we saw before, this is the average track of those, okay? Here's how it looks. We get in later out in the time. And now we're at Monday of next week, so already 4 or 5 days out from now. A very large and intense storm the GFS is painting Florence as. Keep in mind, if you can see it there, Bermuda is like right in this general area. So certainly going to be a storm that Bermuda needs to watch more closely than the East Coast currently. If it does get to this point, the East Coast needs to certainly watch out for it and watch what happens here with these two models as we get towards Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of next week. The European takes it on pretty much a westerly track and slams it in the Carolinas. Then we have the GFS that has a bomb of a system sitting just off the eastern seaboard, does not make landfall, recurves north pretty much at the 11th hour, straddles the eastern seaboard before kind of getting stuck under that ridge we were talking about and sitting offshore. Which model's right? Again, nobody knows. It's still too far out in the time, and these will change as we go further out into the future. Okay, so we have two other waves to talk about here. We have wave number 1 and wave number 2, 92L, 93L. That's the designation they have right now before they get a name, and they're up to 90% chance of development within the next 5 days. Within the next 2 days of getting the name Helene, up to 50%. Right behind that is the potential Isaac. In the next 48 hours, not expecting any development at all, but within 5 days, a 30% chance of getting that name of Isaac. All right, that's all we got today. We'll have another update for you tomorrow. If you want to find me on Facebook, you got any travel questions, if you're traveling to Bermuda, had a lot
All
of
right, guys,
saying, hey,
let me
on a cruise, we're leaving on vacation, heading to Bermuda.
Pause him there. Like he said at the beginning of this video, they're telling people on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, they know where the storm is going. They do not know. Nobody can tell 9 days to 10 days out. So don't let the people scare you. Follow the local news station, follow the National Weather Service. I will keep updates on here, I promise, because I live on the East Coast. All right, God bless. Please be safe. Thank you for watching. Every one of you guys are awesome.